Hello everyone, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to an episode of Shades of Romance. In today's episode of Shades of Romance, we need to talk about the fact that it is cold outside. It is very cold outside, okay? It does not matter what, temperature system you're using. It is really cold outside. It's below freezing, okay? Doesn't matter if you're using Fahrenheit or Celsius, it's below freezing outside. And Princess Starsong had to go to work this morning. I mean, she's out in this cold weather, and and it's not expected to really get very warm today. So here it is, early in the morning. I'm thinking ahead for when she gets home from work. Now, that being said, there are 3 different dishes here in the United States that automatically comes to mind when talking about cold weather, okay? And the first one is biscuits and gravy for breakfast. There are people that, where I live, that biscuits and gravy, that's what they have to have in the morning because, it's heavy, it kind of sticks with you for a while. That's what they, that's their thing, okay? And that definitely will get an episode of its own at some point. But for right now, just kind of bear that in mind, biscuits and gravy. Now, towards the, kind of after the breakfast time of the day, we're talking lunch and dinner, there's a couple of other ones that come to mind. Chicken and dumplings is a very common one. Basically, it's almost like a chicken soup. It's chicken broth with basically these biscuit-style dumplings that are floated in it, in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes those biscuits are real puffy, like a southern biscuit, and sometimes they're kind of flat and kind of like like a ship's biscuit, which would be something that those of you in the United Kingdom would understand what I'm talking about. Another one that comes to mind, chili con carne, okay? Chili comes to mind, and of course there's about 1 million chili recipes out there. Take your pick, okay? But what do these equate to? Well, it all ends up tying into, so I looked here in the United States, those are pretty well commonplace ones that everyone's familiar with. But when you go over to Europe, one that you commonly hear to deal with cold, when dealing with the cold weather, hot soup and bread. Let's take a look at that for a second. Hot soup and bread. Well, what is chicken and dumplings? That in itself, there's no easy way of saying it. It's basically a soup with these flour-like dumplings in it, similar to a bread, okay? But let's take a look at chili, okay? What is chili? It's a stew. What is a stew? A really thick soup. Sounds like we're all on the same page. So, let's take a look at the soup portion of this video. Out of the gate, one of the first things I'm going to do is I have 3 cloves of garlic chopped, okay? To go along with that, I'm going to add in, well, if you want to get specific, I'm going to add in a grand total of 48 ounces of carton chicken broth. Low sodium if you can get it. Not necessarily, you're just going to have to adjust for the salt content. But for those of you in the United Kingdom or other parts of the world that does not use the standard American measuring system, that's 1.36 kilograms of chicken, just carton chicken broth, okay? So we're going to fill this bad boy up, alrighty? That is a lot of chicken broth. Now, since this is not the low sodium kind, I'm going to have to back off on the amount of salt that I would normally use, but we'll get to that in a second. Then, to go along with that, for just a touch of acidity, I've got a grand total of 4 limes juiced. Always do freshly squeezed on that. We're going to use a can of black beans. Any type of your favorite canned bean will work. Dried is okay as well. All right. Then to go along with that, we're going to add in some sweet potatoes. I like sweet potatoes, and I got these on the cheap, believe it or not. Alrighty. Then I'm going to add in a grand total of 1 can, juice and all, of chicken breast. Okay? And we're going to need a little bit more body than that, you know, because this doesn't have a whole lot going on with it yet. But basically, it's just a broccoli stir fry, okay? Basically, it's a frozen vegetable melody. I mean, choose the type you like, okay? So we're just going to reach containment, and that will be the vegetable portion, along with the protein portion and that sort of thing. All right? It's got a little bit of everything in there that we're going to need for this. Now, from here, because I know later on we're going to need to ladle all this together. I'm going to go ahead and get a ladle out. And we're going to give this a stir, and I'm going to put this on low. But we still need some seasoning because this is going to be pretty bland just by itself. I'm going to add in about 2 teaspoons of salt. If you get the low sodium, go ahead and go with about 4 teaspoons of salt. For those of you, again, who do not use the United States standard measuring system, I'll go ahead and let you guys go ahead and do the, conversion yourself. And we're going to add in some fresh ground black pepper. That's really all you need. You can add other seasonings that you like, but it's perfectly fine. All right? Now, even though this is on low, watch this from time to time. You may have to add in more liquid as the day progresses. Simply put, because if you don't, it'll, evaporation, and it'll basically beach itself. So we're going to go ahead and lid up with the ladle in there. It's not that important. And when we come back a little bit later in the day, we're going to go ahead and get to work on the biscuit portion of this, because we're going to do just a simple quick bread. And what's the best quick bread I know of that goes with a good soup like this? Biscuits. Okay? So when we come back, that's what we're going to make. I'm going to show you all how to make, here in the United States, Southern style biscuits. Alrighty, folks. Our soup is pretty well done, but the bread part, as I mentioned, we're going to do American style biscuits. Now really quick, when talking about American style biscuits, there's really two trains of thought. If you go north, they're kind of dense biscuits. They're not bad. I've had them before, but we're not going to make that kind. The kind we're going to make is Southern biscuits. Okay. Now again, for those of you in the UK, biscuits over here are a little bit different than what you're used to. Ironically enough. So I've got a grand total of 10 ounces of all-purpose flour, regular, not the self-rising stuff, okay? Now what we're going to do is I'm going to take 2 ounces of vegetable shortening, or Crisco if you will. Some of you, can't figure out that other companies besides Crisco make vegetable shortening, which works wonders in baked goods. And what we're going to do, and most of, again, for those of you in the United Kingdom will recognize this style of basically kind of smushing the shortening into the flour. And what that actually does is kind of coat the flour. So, similar to like, the dough that you guys would use for Cornish pasties. So you guys over in the UK should recognize this. And you'll kind of work that, but you don't want your hands to get too hot. If they get too hot, the shortening will begin to melt and it'll make a big giant mess. So be very careful with that. All right. And if you haven't done so by now, you want your oven preheating to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, for those of you in other parts of the world that do not use the United States metric system, the United States measuring system, I'll let you guys go ahead and do the conversion on your own. And pretty much that is it right there. We've got that all kind of crushed in, and it should kind of resemble this texture here. And that's kind of where that begins. All right. From here, I'm going to wash my hands. All right, our next step is to go ahead and get four grand total of 4 teaspoons of baking powder using the scoop and sweep method. Scoop it out, level it off by sweeping it off like such. Try to get it as level as you possibly can. 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Any more than that and it'll taste funny. Or at least I think it does. 1 full teaspoon of kosher salt. And last but definitely not least, a half teaspoon of baking powder. Okay? Half teaspoon of baking powder using the same method, scoop and sweep method. And I'll set this off to be cleaned later. So now we have all of our dry ingredients. The next step is we're going to have to add the wet ingredients. But before you do that, take a silicone spatula or a whisk and then just kind of roll like that, just kind of fold, kind of mixing the dry stuff together. That way everything kind of tastes the same, if you will. Homogeneous, if you will. All right? And then what I'm going to do is create like in the center of the work bowl, I'm going to create like this well. All right? Very simple. And then we're going to take a grand total of 8 ounces of just 2% milk, whole milk, completely fine. I definitely would not use skim milk in this case. And another one that you could do, 8 ounces of buttermilk. Either way, any one of those will work, but definitely don't use skim milk. We're going to pour that right in the center. Some of it comes up around the sides and all that. That's perfectly fine. All right? and then we're going to fold using our spatula, fold over like that. Now, a little secret, the reason why I fold like this is because by stirring, you create gluten, which makes for a tougher biscuit, okay? So, whatever you do, don't sit there and just stir, because if you do that, you create gluten, which is not what we're looking for. We're looking to make light, fluffy Southern biscuits, not ship's biscuits. Okay, hardtack. All right, that's not what we're looking to do. Okay, now once the batter starts kind of coming together, this is definitely the time that I would suggest to you. I use just a regular plastic mat like such. All right, and I'll lay down a little bit of flour, right like such. Okay, not a lot, not a lot. Don't have to. And then we'll take and dump the dough out like such. Get it all out onto the workspace, right like such, and we are golden there. Now, we're going to have to add in more flour to our dough and kind of bring it together as a stiff dough. And you'll see that happening here in just a second. If you're like me, you can use a dough blade. I'm going to go ahead and just do it by hand this time around. But just like that, it's going to all start to come together. Okay? Don't overwork the dough. If you overwork your dough, again, we're back to you're making gluten, which will make for a much, much tougher product. And that's not what we're looking for. Again, we're looking to make biscuits, not hardtack. From here, if you haven't got any, get yourself some biscuit cutters, okay? Now, if you get, most of the time they come in 3 different sizes, and I usually use the next size down from the largest in it, like this, okay? And that's what I use, and you can make them any size you want, which definitely will come up here in just a bit, which is why we have this little one here, and I'll show you. All right? Make sure you've got a nice pan, like such, and then we're going to push down, twist, okay? Making a nice biscuit right like that, okay? Set that on the pan, and let's make some more, okay? Push down, twist. You get good at this, you get quick, but don't get too quick with it because then that's when you make mistakes. Push down, twist. Sticks to that, don't worry about it, just give it a light jiggle and it usually pops right out. Alright, and as you're putting them on the pan, and I'll kind of tip it up so you can see, just put them where they're just touching, okay? Push down, twist. There's a little flour to it, you can brush that off, it's not a big deal. Push down and twist. We'll just keep going like that. They're real simple, real simple, easy to make. These are always best when they first come out of the oven. There we go, and just put them again, just where they're just touching. When you run out of space, oh, our oven is ready. When you run out of space to make, basically, you've kind of used it all up. Some people refer to it as re-rolling their trash or whatever. I just call it making more biscuits. And again, do it all by hand. Okay? Push down, twist. Don't dig. One twist will do it. Okay? One twist will do it. And again, put them just where they're barely touching. Okay? Just where they're barely touching. Okay. And We'll re-roll our trash. Currently right now we have a grand total of about 9 of them. Okay. Work that up. Kind of mush it all together. And back down it goes. And working that piece that kind of fell to the side. Okay. Fold it. You'll be able to make a bunch of these. You can make them as thick or as thin as you want. I usually get close to about a dozen on these. And again. Now, this is about the time that we really don't have a whole lot of dough left, okay? And ironically enough, when I say there's not enough dough left to do anything, my biscuit cutter won't do anything. That's where this little guy comes in. And there's a funny story behind these. These are what we call baby biscuits. Now, the reason why I do this is, let's face facts. We all have an inner child. Your other half has an inner child. It is what it is, right? But when I was a kid, if my mom was, say, making something like hamburgers, and all of a sudden there was maybe just a little morsel left, not enough to actually make a full patty, she would go ahead and still make it anyways, and it was called baby burgers. Fast forward to today, when I first started learning how to make these, and of all the things, I got that idea, why don't I use the small biscuit cutter when I got my first set of these and make what we call baby biscuits. And it became a popular one amongst the crowd that, you know, that comes over oftentimes to HQ and enjoys my cooking. There we go. And just like that, I managed to get a grand total of about 4 more. And now there really isn't enough. It's right down to just little ribbons at that point. Now, we've got a pretty decent sized pan, as you can tell, of basically biscuits ready to make. But we're not quite done yet. Take your thumb and press down right like that. Just leave an indent, okay? Just leave an indent. And that'll help them rise. Okay? That'll help them rise. And even do it with the baby biscuits. Just put a small indent right like that. Okay? Just like that. And since our oven is now fully heated, we bounce that in. Now you might have to come back and turn it halfway through the cooking process. Most of the time it takes anywhere from 20 minutes to a half hour. Check in on it at about 15 minutes, okay? If your oven, especially if your oven has hot spots. Just kind of look in on it from time to time. And, you know, I would love to give you an exact time, but that's the thing. Flour is an agricultural product, and it's a little unpredictable, okay? So, you're just going to have to watch it from time to time. And what I mean by that, check in, I would definitely check in on it about every 10 minutes, okay? So, with that now being said, I've got all this flour that I've not used. Well, this is why I keep the cutting mat down when I make biscuits, because then I can pick it up right like that and dump it into a container and reuse that flour later on. And that's how we save money in the household. So for those of you who are conscientious about not wasting, wasting money or wasting food because it costs money, now here's a way to do that. And of course, from here I'll have to clean up a little bit later, but that's how we get our biscuits. So I will see all of you in just a bit. Alrighty folks, our biscuits have come out of the oven and they've been on the countertop for probably right around 10 minutes. And it took about maybe 15 minutes to actually make. But as you can tell, look at that. Nice looking biscuits, right? Well, the real cool part is actually coming up here in just a second. I'll have to tell you guys how we got these bowls at some point, but a real simple bowl, and what we can do, when you go into some of the restaurants, they talk, they talk about their biscuits that break open real easy and all that. Mine do too. So we're going to put a couple of these in here, and you don't necessarily have to do this, but definitely fun if you want something different. And if done properly, like I said, they break open real easy. Just like that. Look at that. Slap some butter on it, and you've got some good food to take with you to work or something to that effect. But as we'd be, with the like earlier in the video, you definitely can now take some of that soup that we made and put that right over the top. Be sure to get some of the broth in there. Your biscuits will soak them up just fine, just like that. Talk about a very simple dish that anyone could make, and pennies on the dollar compared to what you might get in a restaurant. Oh, by the way, remember those little biscuits that we made earlier? The baby biscuits? Check that out. A lot of people like to, they'll just grab hold of them and toss them in their mouth just like that right out of the gate. And they're very popular. Even that last little one. Check that out. Again, attacking that inner child that we all have. This is why around here, baby biscuits are the favorite. It's the leftover dough, and it's the same dough as the full-size biscuits, but you guys get the general idea. So now, when you're dealing with cold weather, your other half is coming home from work, and maybe you yourself have already been home. It's your day off, and you want something that that's simple and inexpensive, and not gonna break the bank. Easy to make. There it is. So now I get to feed my other half a nice dish that she's going to enjoy and help her deal with the fact that she's been out in the cold today. So that brings us to the point in the video where I get to remind all of you, get on over to Teespring and check out the merchandise. The merchandise over there. Some of it was made, has been made a while back. We've got merchandise of all sizes and shapes, from t-shirts, coffee mugs, to, I think yoga pants. We got yoga pants, even onesies for the kids. Okay, so get on over there and check that out. From Project Spirit logo stuff to Project Lena to the Chickens Are People to bees. That one's on there. We've, even got cinnamon merchandise. We got it all over there. Okay, so get on over there and check that out. And get on over to Patreon. $1 a month to, donate it to the Prince Magnum channel through Patreon grants you access to Cinema's Discord. And again, 18 or older for that Discord. Alrighty, now that brings us to the spot where I get to remind all of you, get out there and work on a project. Don't care what it is, just do something with yourselves. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. Do something special for them today. And as always, for every last one of you out there, no one out there has told you that they love you today. Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.
Wrong me, wrong me, wrong, my brains are...